Welcome, everybody, to the Sheridan Report, brought to you, as always, by MyBookie.Ag. To bet the Kentucky Derby today, you could go on and get up to a 100% cashback bonus up to your first $300 deposited if you go through the GrillyTruth.com page, where at the top of that page, you'll find the MyBookie.Ag website. You could also go directly to MyBookie.Ag and put in the promo code TGT100. And make sure you do that because we are one of the few sites where you can get a 100% cashback bonus right now through MyBookie.Ag. I am your host for the Sheridan Report, Mike Goodpasser. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my co-host from the Sheridan Report, Bobby Sheridan. How you doing, Bobby?
Hey, Mike, I'm doing great. And, you know, there's a lot of games going on today, so many things to play. And we've got some games that we've got pegged, and I want to go over them.
Well, let's peg them. You want to start off with baseball?
Okay, that's fine, Mike. We'll start off with baseball. Today's another card that has a lot of depth to it, you know, so let's get right away on it. We've got three games that we like kind of placed in our mix and match category, and one's an early start, but that's still 2 hours from now. That's the Cubs and the Cardinals from Wrigley Field, and so 4:05 Eastern, 1:05 Pacific. We got the Cubs in that game, and a little bit surprising to me if you told me this 2 weeks ago. Yu Darvish is the starting pitcher for the Cubs. So I would not have thought that, okay, we're going to be on the Cubs today. But, you know, he's kind of finding something, and his last outing was pretty solid. So I think the Cubs, if he can give them another solid start today, their bullpen is now pitching up to potential, and they're scoring some runs. So I think they've got some edges in that game today. So we're going to go ahead and take him, and he's only a minus $1.12. So that's a pretty good spot to start out a three-teamer. And if we can get that alive with the Cubs, and we've got a really good shot at a nice payoff, which is this morning when I put it in was over 4-1, about plus 440. So then we've got the Braves. The Braves are in Miami. And we talked yesterday, you know, one of the reasons the Braves won the division last year, Mike, the National League East, was because of their ability to manhandle Miami. And we talked about Miami, the Marlins, being a real factor into who really wins that division because they play the other teams 18 times each. And it played to form again yesterday. Atlanta was able to beat them fairly easily, and they've got another shot today with Mike Soroka on the mound. So I like that at minus 157. And then to finish off our parlay, let's go to the National League West, where the Rockies send out their best pitcher, especially their best home pitcher, Kyle Freeland, looking for a bounce-back spot. And the Rockies are also looking for a bounce-back spot. They got beat 10-9 in the first game of this series, and I think it's a perfect spot for them to come back, win game 2, and it sets up the series decider tomorrow. So this is the Rockies, who we've been on quite a bit lately. If we can get to that game at 5 o'clock, really going to like our chances. So that's our three-teamer, all favorites, but all good value. Nothing too big there. That's why that payoff is nice for us. And then, Mike, we go to our straight plays, and most of the time we'll have at least 2, sometimes 3, and then 4. That's telling you that things are really opening up now. We're starting to have some takes, and this will be back-to-back days we've had 4. Now, we went 1 and 3 yesterday with our straights. And, you know, that's okay. You know, all 4 games were very, very competitive, one-run ball games, and we're going to turn those fates around today. And we've got 4 games we like. Start out with the Nationals. This is a great pitching matchup. This is Patrick Corbin against Jake Arrieta. I like Corbin in this spot. I think that you'll see him rack up some strikeouts today, I believe, Mike, in that ball game. And Arrieta is still a solid pitcher, but to me, not every day, every start at number 1. And he's going to have to be a number 1 today, I think, to win that ball game. So we like Patrick Corbin, small underdog. And then we go to our second play, which is the Angels. That game being played from Mexico tonight. I like the Angels, who coming off of a sweep of Toronto, playing against a divisional rival. I like that price at plus 120, and trying to find a spot for Cahill this year, for Trevor Cahill, and we haven't found that yet. But the Angels are now playing a lot better, and I think this could be their spot. And this is the best pitching matchup they have of the 2 games in this series. So I like the Angels there. Now, top 2 plays are coming up right now. These are the games where if you just threw everything out that I just said, you just want to bet 2 games today in baseball, these would be the 2. First game would be the San Francisco Giants. They're at Cincinnati, and we called this yesterday, Mike. We called it last start of road trip. This is where their offense starting to really swing the bat, and you saw it yesterday. They overcame a 10-1 deficit in that game. It was 8-0 at one point, I believe. 8-2, maybe 10-2, something like that was the deficit. And they came back and won at 11-10, and they're really getting some hot left-handed bats going now to go along with Buster Posey and a few of their other mainstays. And they came back from that deficit and won that ball game and got an inning each out of their 4 best relievers. And they can get an inning each out of them again today, and a great start from Derek Rodriguez, who will outpitch Tanner Roark, I believe. I believe the Giants will have the lead in this game going into those late innings. And that's a pretty bad loss for the Reds yesterday, blowing that game. And the Giants are playing good baseball now. They're starting to swing the bat. So they had 2 out of 3 over the Dodgers. They followed that up with a big win. They're catching some fire. So I like the Giants a lot. You notice we bet on Derek Rodriguez a lot this year. That's Ivan Rodriguez's son. And he's going to give us a quality start. And then finally, Mike, the last play of the day, straight play. Second top play would be the New York Mets. The Mets are going to send Zach Wheeler out tonight, trying to even that series. This is a matchup of, Zach Wheeler, to me, the last few turns, he has a potential to be a number 1, number 2 starter. And Gio Gonzalez was just signed by the Brewers a week ago, and they started him the next day. He was one of these guys that stayed in shape, did not have a team, and Brewers brought him back, and he pitched okay game 1, but I'm not convinced. I think the Mets have a big shot in this game, definitely to win game 1, the first 6 innings, and we'll turn the ball over to their bullpen, Gazelman and Diaz, and get a win, I think. The Mets offense has been the problem the last week, but why not find a spark here against the number 5 from Milwaukee? So one tidbit, though, Christian Yelich may be back tonight, but that no problem there. So there it is, Mike. That's a lot of games, but like I said, if you want to narrow it down, I think the Mets and Giants are the top plays. And then, of course, I like that 3-team parlay to start clicking.
All right, Bobby. Where do you want to go? You want to go NHL?
I want to go NHL, Mike. You're talking about somebody that's hot. You gave out another 2 winners yesterday, and anxious to see what you got today.
I got more winners. Maybe. We'll see. Today we've got, in the NHL playoffs, we've got a couple huge games. We've got Game 5s on series that are tied at 2. When you look at this at the start, the Blue Jackets are a plus 130, so are the Avalanche. I picked both of these teams before the series to win. It's Game 5. We talk about, having a take and sticking with it. Game 5 is always a huge game here. I like the Blue Jackets and the Avalanche, both of the upsets. I think the Blue Jackets, when you look at the first 2 games, they split them in Boston. But the Game 1 was a game they lost in overtime. They could very easily be up 3-1 in this series right now. The Avalanche and Sharks have been kind of trading games back and forth. I think the Avalanche are just going to surprise people. I know when we did our hockey show, everybody was picking the Sharks to win this series. I think the Avalanche win this series, and I think they're going to win this game tonight. They're both at plus 130s. So do you want to go ahead and talk about the NBA and what we could tie those 2 with?
Yeah, Mike, I like it. You like the Dogs in these games tonight, and I love what you're doing there. You did say you like Columbus and Colorado in those series.
Because you know what I did real quick, Bobby? You seem pretty sure on the Cubs. So I took Colorado and the Blue Jackets, and I put them in a 3-teamer with the Cubs, which pays almost 8-1.
Hey, anything you stick these 2 with is going to pay very nice because you got 2 dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, the best bet value-wise that you can make would be a dog-to-dog money line parlay, even without a 3rd team. You take 2 teams, and they're both dogs. You see this mostly in baseball, and that's what I built myself on, is finding the dogs in baseball and parlaying them up. and you have opportunities to do that today in baseball, because I just gave you 4 straights, and Mike's giving you 2 in hockey. And this would be a day where you try to get some value and string 2 or 3 of these things together and come back with some payoffs. And Mike, I like it. You string these 2 hockeys together with that Cubs game, which is minus 112. It's right there. Or you string them together with the Rockets tonight. The Rockets are a minus 110. Got the point spread minus 3. Any of those kind of things at 8-1 is just a great payoff. It doesn't take a lot to have a nice day when you hit those, and you deserve it, Mike, because you're coming up with these 2 underdogs tonight, the game 5s. You did say this, and what I've always told is, hey, if you think they're going to win the series, then why are you not taking this 120, 130? Because this is the game they got to win.
Yeah, it's why I took the Stars last night, because I picked the Stars at the start of that series. They're going to a game 5 at St. Louis. They came back. They won the game.
You bet. And that's the way the hockey's gone this year. You know, the home ice advantage has not been all that much. That's why all these lines are like 120, 130, 140. You know, they're pretty even games. And you found that some teams here in the Stars, and we're going to find out tonight if the Jackets and Avalanche can do that. So let's hook those up. Also, Mike, let's make the official Grueling Truth parlay be those 2 with the top play in the NBA, Houston Rockets. And Mike, so many reasons to like them tonight. Down 0-2, coming home, it's a must-win. In fact, both these 2 games are must-wins. And I like what Mike D'Antoni said. He said, we have to go to war. We have to scrap tonight with those guys and fight. And I believe that they're going to do that. I believe that they will. I believe that what their makeup is. Harden and Paul are pretty tough guys. They're warriors. They're veterans. They really need a title, Mike. They want a title. And they're going against a team that's got 3 of them, or 4 of them. What do they got? 3, I think? 3 out of the last 4, or is it 4 out of 5? I don't know. But whatever it is, there's a few players on that team that have already got the rings. And we're going to see tonight how much the Warriors really want to fight. Because if the Warriors want to win one of these games, which, you know, would cement the series for them, they're going to have to fight for it. And I don't see that happening. I think this is going back to Golden State, tied at 2 games apiece. But Houston has to earn it tonight, and we have to give 3 points and have a belief in them. And, you know, the ratings on this series are through the roof. This is the series. This series ratings might outdo the finals, the actual championship series. Unless Golden State's in it. I mean, if Golden State's in it, that'll probably still outdo this series. But this Warrior-Rocket series, I see it going, Mike, much further than just 4 or 5 games. These teams are very even. They're very different styles. It doesn't always produce a great-looking fight, as we talked about. But in the end, we've had 2 very close games, 2 4-point wins, 5, something like that. But I did say back at the start of this series, the blowout, if there's going to be a blowout between these 2, is going to be Houston when they go home. And so I'm expecting a double-digit win tonight. So it's a top play for me.
All right, Bobby. What do we got for on this day?
All right. On this day, Mike, it's Kentucky Derby Day. And we had such a great show last night. I enjoyed listening to that gentleman and my friend Phil Rankin.
Yeah, Vince DeGregory.
But Vince DeGregory. If you guys that are listening now have never, heard kind of stories in horse racing, the 86-year-old man that was 100% still there and still passionate about what he's talking about. And you bring up a name, bring one up. It doesn't even matter. He's been there and done it with that guy. He knows about it. Mike, I hope you get him on 3 more times. I mean, that's how great this guy was. But anyways, today's the day in 1985 was the 111th Derby in 1985. So on this day, Angel Cordero Jr., he won on a horse called Spindabuck. And I want to hear about that race.
Yeah, I'm still upset because I had a $2 ticket on Chiefs Crown. He was the favorite, though. It wouldn't have paid much anyways. Spend a buck, I think, was 5-1. He won by 5 or 6 lengths. He beat Stefan's Odyssey. And Stefan's Odyssey was Lafitte Pinkai, or Pinkay, however you say it. But Lafitte is a friend of the show. I had him on a couple years ago. We reposted the interview today. You can find it on the front of thegruelingtruth.com. And, of course, Lafitte was another one of those jockeys whose agent was Vince DeGregory.
Right.
So you had Pinkai, Cordero, two of the greatest jockeys of all time. The thing I remember about this was Spend a Buck, Garden State Park owner, I forget what his name was, but he'd put up like a $2 million bonus to the horse that won the 2 April prep races, the Kentucky Derby, and the May 27th Jersey Derby, which was Garden State's signature race. Spend a Buck's owner, Dennis Diaz, opted to skip the Preakness and the Belmont and trade any chances of winning the Triple Crown for a shot at that bonus.
Oh, my gosh.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
And how did he do, Mike? Did he finish that off? We'll have to look that up. Are you aware if he finished
he
that
won.
off or not?
He won by a neck, and he captured basically a $2.6 million prize, the largest single purse in American racing history. That record stood for 19 years until Smarty Jones won the 2004 Kentucky Derby and a bonus inspired by Brennan. I'm reading that part.
Oh.
But, Brennan is the same guy that did it for Jersey also. So the question is this. Is it better to make the $2.6 million, or is it better to take a shot at immortality?
I'll tell you why it's better to take a shot at immortality. But all those winning that Triple Crown is so rare, but because it's 2 races, not 1. And you got to do it turning around.
Yeah, and they're entirely different races, too.
Entirely different races, so it's such a low percentage rather than just going and winning that garden race and picking up the money. That's what they did, and good for them. And to win that race by a neck, wow. I mean, you're trading in the Triple Crown for that, you got to win it, right? And then win it by a neck. Crazy stuff, but the reason why I say I would be inclined to go for it was because if you imagine if you hit that Triple Crown, the breeding on your horse, the stud fees and things, would be astronomical. It'd be worth well more than $2.6 million.
Well, how about this? Spend a Buck, his post-racing career as a standing stud, which is kind of what I refer to us as. Basically, he sired 27 stakes winners that won over $16 million.
Yeah, and there's people retire on that money that it makes. For his, that's the big money, Mike.
Yeah, it'd be great to go for that thing, but the $2.6 million to win one race, and you figure the best horses aren't at that race at that time either. I'm sure there was a few there, but overall, and his career earnings were like $4.2 million.
Well, in that race, though, it makes me think a little bit that might not have just been restricted to 3-year-olds. That might have been open to older horses as well. And so we'd have to look that up, who really raced against him in that garden race. Because, the Triple Crown Trail is just 3-year-olds.
Yeah.
So he might have had to beat older horses in that other race. And that's what my intuition's telling me. But I don't know. But that is a great story, something I didn't know about. And, last night was just a spoiler a little bit for the fans. Angel Cordero got his start with Vince DeGregory. Now, this would have been the early 70s, 1970, 69, 70, 71. So here we are 15 years later. DeGregory was not his agent at the time, but that was his jockey. He started Cordero out, and that was a great story he told about. They both started with each other, right?
Yeah.
This was each other's, how they broke in.
Well, it wasn't his first one, but it was his first jockey that really got people to take him seriously.
Right, they catapulted him. Right. That's what I'm trying to say. Thank you for that. But yeah. So, anyways, and they can find that podcast there. And Mike already in the race Derby is not up for a few hours. I would suggest that he gave his picks, and the handicapper that we had on, my friend Phil, has his rankings and gave his picks. So that would be a good show to go listen to. you want to bet or watch the Kentucky Derby.
All right. Well, guys, we are going to go ahead and wrap it up for today. We will be back on Monday, so make sure you check us out at 2 o'clock Eastern Time on Monday, 11 o'clock Pacific, for all your betting needs. Remember, go to the SheridanReport.com, where you can buy Bobby's Sheridan Report, have it the night before, have it for every game the next day. And when you do that, it'll only cost you $10 a day or $50 for the entire month. And make sure you check out the handicapping guide also with Phil Rankin. What was the website for Phil?
The handicappingguide.com.
Yes.
Or
and also,
truth.com.
Yeah, you can go on to grillingtruth.com and find every race at Churchill Downs today, broke down with the top 4 to 7 horses in each race, where you should go. And Bobby, just for the hell of it, I'm going to put this out there. I'm picking Improbable today on a bad track.
Okay, Mike, I'm going to take Maximum Security. So that's the 5 and 7 horses, right?
Yeah, that also sounds like a really good name for a deodorant. So,
yeah, it sure does. And Mike, I'll tell you, let's put a capper on this, Mike. I'm going to go. I don't bet the horses much anymore at all, and I'm glad I don't, but because I give money away in that sport overall. But this is such a big day. We're going to do 2 things for the Grueling Truth today. We're going to box Mike and I's horses, 5 and 7 today in the Kentucky Derby. We're going to put that in. That's a Grueling Truth exacta box. And we're going to put in that hockey NBA parlay, the 2 hockeys, the 2 dogs in Game 5 that Mike's recommending, my Houston Rockets -3. We're going to hook that up in a 3-teamer. There's the official Grueling Truth parlay selections for today.
All right, guys. So we're going to wrap it up. Remember, you can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, Zeno Live Radio, and a couple of hundred other places that have podcasts. Basically, anywhere you find sports podcast, you'll find the Grueling Truth. So for Bobby Sheridan, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to the Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.